Hello and welcome to Being Rad with me, Robert Alexander Duran. Today I have soul singer extraordinaire and old friend of mine, Scarlett Fagan, with me. Scarlett, welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me. And I love the use of the word extraordinaire.
Well, I've heard you sing, so I think it would be unfair to say anything other than that. And we are talking today on what would have been Amy Winehouse's 40th birthday, aren't we?
Yeah, I think it was yesterday, but yeah.
Oh, well, I saw your story celebrating that just earlier, so...
That's all right. Yeah. It was yesterday, but she's the queen, and so happy birthday to Amy.
How did you get into soul singing? Because I remember when we worked at the DPS together, in those bad times, at least for me.
Yeah.
Saying that you wanted to do more of that, and recently it seems like you're releasing something on a very consistent basis. How did you get into it initially, though?
Actually, it really was just the fact that I really loved soul music growing up, but like the proper old stuff, like Motown and stuff. So it just started there, and I used to sing all those old classics, and yeah, that's where it started. Honestly, just a love for the genre and the old soul singers and blues and stuff. And then just very slowly continued to pursue it. But like for a while, it was like a secret thing that I did. Like I wouldn't let my friends come and see me. I wouldn't let my mum hear me. It's really been an extremely slow progression. Like when I first moved to Bristol, I started off doing open mic nights, but I wouldn't tell anyone that I was doing it in case anyone that I knew showed up. And then I guess just confidence grew, and I'm where I am today, more experience, and yeah, I'm still at it. So yeah.
Was there a moment where things shifted? Because just as a backstory, I just mentioned it a moment ago, we used to work together in a call center. I know like you're still there to pay the bills and whatnot. I'm glad I'm not there, although it's got a lot worse from being there to where I am now. Things had to get worse before they got better. But, I remember when we were working together, you saying like you'd like to do more of this, but it didn't seem to be going anywhere. Was there a pivotal moment where that shifted and you're like, enough's enough, let's get out there?
Yeah, I suppose there's been a few like pivotal moments, one of which being moving to Bristol. That was like a time where I detached myself from my life in Devon. My intentions as soon as I moved here were to pursue music, but I just literally had no idea what I was doing or who to talk to or whatever. I really didn't know what to do. But there's been a few pivotal moments. I would say one of the most significant pivotal moments was probably when I joined the band that I was in. And that was a group of people that were a bit older than me. They'd been in the music industry for most of their lives, and I was able to learn a lot from them and had loads of amazing experiences with them as well. So if it wasn't for joining that band, my process could have been potentially even slower than what it has been already, because I really benefited from being around people that had been doing touring and recording and whatever for much longer than I had. So that was probably a very pivotal thing. I have now left that band, which has been yet another extremely pivotal experience. I left towards the end of last year, and it was pivotal because now it's all down to me. I don't have anyone else organising anything for me. It's literally all down to me. I'm doing all of the booking. I'm looking for the gigs in the first place. I'm sorting out all sorts. I'm doing way more like promotion of myself on social media than I used to. Like it's literally all down to me, and that's been extremely pivotal. And I really was a bit naive in the sense that I thought it would be all really easy. And it isn't, and it shouldn't be. And so that's been a really interesting learning curve. So yeah, there's been a few pivotal moments, but I think also age plays a big part in it. You know, like when you're younger, you're kind of like, oh, one day it will just be sorted for me. I was very much, I had that attitude.
Yeah.
And part of getting older is realizing that you're entirely responsible for yourself. No one's going to do anything for you. So, you know, get off your ass and do something. Yeah.
I guess with the kind of genre that you're in, you are at an advantage in that you don't necessarily need youth.
Yeah.
Like S Club 7 and bands like bands, they were groups.
Yeah.
And they have to do all the dancing and stuff. Whereas,
Yeah.
like, with what you're doing, you stand there and sing incredibly. And you have to do that one thing. Like, you haven't got that, I need to have made it by 25 kind of pressure.
Yeah.
Have you felt that?
I mean, I have felt that pressure, like, because I turned 30 this year and I was like, oh my God, like I'm 30 and I still haven't made it. Like, is this it for me? Which of course it isn't. And like, I've worked on that part of myself that held that belief. So yeah, I'm really lucky because I do have a voice that people sit and listen to. So I'm really lucky to kind of have that natural talent, although, you know, queries as to how natural it is in the sense of like, if I'd never sung all those songs when I was a kid, would I have the voice today? Probably not. But it's not like I've had endless amounts of singing lessons all my life. I haven't. Like, the singing lessons that I've had have just built on what I already had, which is just from singing loads when I was a kid, I guess. But yeah, I'm lucky that I've got that talent naturally in a sense. So yeah, I'm very lucky, basically.
You feel like growing up, you know, you said you had that thing of like, it'll be sorted for me.
I don't know.
Did you take your natural talent for granted?
For sure. Yeah. There were just things that I felt like I shouldn't have to do because I can just sing. You know, like even figuring out how important social media is, or figuring out like my image on stage, how I interact with people that are listening to me. Like, there were loads of things that I didn't feel that I should have to do. But it wasn't just that I was like, oh, fuck it, I shouldn't have to do that. It was also like, oh, I'm actually really shy. And so I'm going to hide behind this. Oh, I don't think I need to do this because actually I'm just too scared. So,
and
yeah.
Like, you hid behind being in that other band. Although it was obviously a great experience and you learned a lot from them. In my experience of being in bands, I never went solo with any sort of music endeavor, because it gave me an opportunity to have an excuse as to why things weren't going as fast as I felt they should have, because I could blame other people. I could blame the other people.
Yeah.
Now in business, I don't, like, my marketing agency was called Condor Media UK, and like that was still me hiding behind this other name. So, whereas like now I'm leaning into the personal brand thing. Luckily my initials spell rad, which is pretty cool, I think. But I very much experienced what you said about like with taking responsibility. So did you feel like, did you have that where you had something else to hide behind to give you that excuse?
Definitely. Like, my attitude while I was in the band was kind of like, well, like, being in this band allows me to be played on BBC Radio. Being in this band allows me to not have to arrange anything myself because someone else is doing it. So yeah, I fully hid behind a lot of that. And I guess it was because like the thought of having to try and figure it out myself just felt too overwhelming. So this year I guess has been a bit more empowering because I've been the one arranging it all. And it's good to know that I can do that when I need to. Whereas before I didn't even know that I could do that. And that's all down to me really, but it was partly because I was lacking confidence. So yeah.
And now moving forward, if you take on people to delegate that to, it's weird how much playing music can actually reflect a business.
Yeah.
When you take on people now to delegate to, as you would in a business, you're going to be more informed to be able to keep them on track and to know whether they're doing a good job.
Yeah.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
if you've never done it yourself and somebody's telling you, giving you a report like, this is what I've done, you have no idea whether that's actually good or not. Like, that's gonna
Yeah. Yeah.
You spoke about the responsibility side of things there. Have you done any like personal development stuff, or has that just come naturally, or was it given to you externally?
So I've been having fairly regular, kind of like a mixture between coaching and hypnotherapy over the last 2 or 3 years. And that has been focused on finding out what is going on in my subconscious that's limiting me from doing certain things. So that went from like figuring out why I get really bad stage fright to figuring out why I am a bit of a hypochondriac sometimes, to figuring out why I find it difficult to give people instruction, just like all stuff like that. Like, but really important to me being able to manage myself and work towards the dream career. So yeah, I've been helped a lot by a really incredible man who I call my therapist, but he likes to think of himself more as a coach. So coach, therapist, whatever. But it's just been finding out what's going on in my subconscious that's holding me back and moving past that, basically.
That's awesome. How have you found the hypnosis side of that? Because my girlfriend's been doing hypnotherapy as well, and my friend and soon-to-be client Zach has started doing his version of hypnosis, and I've never been under.
Yeah.
How would you describe the experience?
Well, I think you kind of experience the hypnosis side of things more when you first start off, because really it's just a case of getting you into a relaxed state so that you have access to parts of your mind that you otherwise wouldn't in everyday life.
Bringing the guard, kind of thing. Bringing the guard down the wall.
Yeah, basically. But once you're used to hypnotherapy, I didn't need to be hypnotized anymore. I kind of just had to just talk it out, find out, talk until you find a point where the energy shifts and you realize that you've just hit something, or you just said something that is the path to finding out what the limiting belief is in regards to that. So yeah, I haven't been like in the hypnosis phase for quite a long time, but I think the first time I did it, I was like maybe 19, and my mum had forced me to go, and I did have to go into hypnosis then, but it was just a case of just feeling really, really relaxed, and yeah. So yeah, it's all right.
All right.
Yeah.
You said about social media and figuring that out. How integral to what you're doing has that been, and what have you seen working?
So when like Instagram was first a thing, and promoting yourself on social media rather than using it as a diary like Facebook back in the good old days, when promoting yourself on social media first became a thing, I didn't really like it at all. I couldn't wrap my head around it. I didn't want to wrap my head around it. And it's annoying because if I'd have been a bit more, I don't know what the word is, but if I'd have taken advantage of it then, I think I could have been in a much better position, because I've got one of my best friends is a photographer, and she's got a really successful business through Instagram because she photographs like influencers and fashion and stuff like that. So she started when it was just becoming a thing. And obviously, because she's a photographer, she was posting really good quality content. So she's got loads of followers that continues to feed into her business and get her jobs and blah, blah, blah. So I wish I'd have had the foresight at the time to take advantage back then, but unfortunately I didn't. And I really actually resented, it's like back to that thing. It's like, hey guys, I'm just a singer. Like, just like I shouldn't have to be on social media. Like, I just want to sing. Yeah. But over the last few years, I've had to invest more time. I've had to get phones with better cameras. I've had to buy a big selfie light, and I've had to like figure out like, what my audience is going to pay attention to. Like I listen to videos about like how to grow on Instagram and stuff like that, and then I have to like have a break and just be like, okay, it doesn't matter that much in the grand scheme of things, but yeah, I've had to wrap my head around it, and it's been quite fun, really. But have I noticed that works? I don't know. I'm trying to like figure out, because the algorithm keeps changing. So like 1 minute photos engagement is really good. The next minute, no, not great engagement. Reels are good engagement. And then all of a sudden reels aren't good engagement anymore. So it's just
a minefield.
Yeah, it is. And you have to keep up to date with what the flipping algorithm wants. But I think things that work well for me are just me posting videos of myself singing, but like live at gigs and stuff. That usually goes down quite well. And then also just like, don't know, to be careful because I don't want loads of creepy men on my Instagram. But yeah, sometimes I get that. I don't know. But singing videos seem to go down pretty well.
I've seen your pictures from Notting Hill Carnival. You weren't wearing a lot.
Yeah.
Creepy men on Instagram.
Yeah, I do get a few. I do. But I think there was one point when I felt the need to like be polite and like reply to them whenever they message me. And I'm learning now, like, just don't reply to them and they'll leave you alone.
When in that can of worms.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't feed it.
Yeah.
How do you feel about like Lewis Capaldi? Because he gained a lot of success and audience through what he did on social media that wasn't really tied to his music. And have you thought about doing something like that?
Yeah. Do you mean like in regards to him bringing his personality in people?
Yeah. Like
yeah.
He kind of had like two audiences that had some crossover, because if you saw his social media content where he's like there in his sunglasses and tracksuit being a Glaswegian, you wouldn't expect him to then belt out someone you loved. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Were two very different aspects of his being.
Yeah.
There was overlap because people go, "Oh, who's this funny guy? Oh my God, he can sing."
Yeah. Yeah, I have been thinking about that recently, actually. I think I might bring out like more of my personality in my posts, because what I've been focusing on, I would say, for the last year or so is kind of like seducing the audience. And I'm starting to realize that actually I'd rather humanize myself a bit. Like, you know, I might look a certain way, but I'm really friendly and a bit like, I like being stupid and silly. So I want to bring out that more like playful aspect of my personality into my social media posts. But I guess really the point of it is to just like, as best as you can, have your social media reflect all aspects of you as a person, particularly if you're a creative. Because like the thing that I don't like is when I listen to videos saying like, you know, giving updates on the algorithm, they're always like zone in on your niche. And I'm like, I don't know, like, do you have to only have one niche and only post about that? Like, I guess it depends on your business, but I feel like performer, I want to be like, okay, well, I'm a singer. Sometimes I'm really silly. Sometimes I like to make myself look nice. Like, these are all three niches within the one person. So yeah, I don't know. I guess it's just experimenting and finding out what works.
I would say have content pillars, is what we call it in the industry. So like to talking about the same few things, but it isn't all one thing.
Yeah.
And if you have like four things that you talk about, and between those four, they allow your personality to come through, you're onto a winner. And that's the thing, like being an artist, people more and more like the connection, don't they? Like Taylor Swift got to where she is today from in the early days of MySpace, replying to everyone and being really personable. Actually thinking about it, like, you know what I said about Lewis Capaldi having these two different aspects of his being, like chatting away to you now and when we worked together and then hearing you sing, I was really surprised because it was like they're very different aspects of you.
Yeah.
So allow both of those to come out on social media would probably be a really good thing.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, I'll definitely be doing that.
What does the future look like? What's the plan? A year, 5 years, 10 years? What have you got in the pipeline?
Well, I have a new EP coming out not till next year. The producer that I've done that with is been New York based for quite a while, but he came back to the UK as a result of the pandemic. So there is potentially some quite exciting opportunities that are going to come from that, particularly whilst we're promoting it. That could potentially be happening in New York. Not 100% certain yet, but it's something that is certainly in my mind. So that's one thing. And then I also really want to do a second album. I'm just waiting for the producer to finish his current projects. And although obviously being creative is number one, I'm very focused on increasing my income at the moment, because that we're living in at the moment, it's like, I don't want to be a struggling artist anymore. Let's put it that way. Like there's nothing good about being a struggling artist. It doesn't help my creativity. Like I need more resources so that I can be as creative as possible. So that's a really big focus for me at the moment. Yeah, aside from that, I really love writing songs. It's very therapeutic, and I really love performing as well. And just more and more and more of that, really.
What kind of things are you looking at in terms of monetization?
Well, it's not like monetizing my talent is not something that I have a lot of experience in necessarily. Like, you know, I've been paid for gigs and stuff like that, but anything outside of that, I haven't really been sure what to do. So the only step that I've made recently is I set up a Patreon. And since I launched it, I actually don't know if I have any patrons yet. I haven't checked. But I've put quite a lot of effort into making content for that, and I will continue to do that and just assume that it will grow at some point with promotion, of course. So that's like one thing that I've set up. I've noticed Instagram is starting to do subscriptions, so I was thinking of maybe dipping my toes in there potentially, but I don't want people to think that it's like OnlyFans, because it's not going to be that at all. So yeah, apart from that, I don't know what I'm doing. But what I have done recently is I've hired a money hypnosis coach person. So it's going to be maybe a little bit like the hypnotherapy that I've had before, but this time specifically finding out what my limiting beliefs are around money, because I've noticed I do have issues with charging people. Like, for example, if someone wants my vocals on a track, I have no idea what's reasonable to charge them. The whole idea of saying, okay, well, you owe me £300 for this work, like that is so unnatural for me. And I want it to become natural, obviously. So that's going to be starting at the end of September, because like, obviously when you get to 30, you're just like, right, got to get over all this shit, you know? There's no time left to still have these problems that you've had all throughout your teens and your 20s. Like, now is the time, and I have no issue with asking for help. So yeah, I'm going to be having hypnotherapy specifically in relation to money.
It's odd, isn't it? Trying to charge money for something you enjoy. That is something that had a lot of resistance and limiting beliefs around when I was It's like, because of my journey, my first job was in a butcher's. I ended up going vegetarian. I haven't eaten meat in 9.5 years. In call centers alongside yourself. Like, I had that kind of association that my work that I got paid for, I shouldn't be enjoying. So that try and like charge money for something I enjoy, it was like absolute brain fuck. But it's totally viable, and like with your talent, like, there's absolutely no reason that you wouldn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. So I'm looking forward to having it figured out, actually. I really feel like, even though I haven't had a session with this lady yet, it's going to be for the next 6 months. I'm just so excited, because I just feel like I'm finally going to get to the bottom of things and like you know, even if you figure out one or two, like if we have like one session, I figure out two limiting beliefs, like that could potentially change everything in such a short amount of time. So I'm so excited to figure that out, because as well, I don't come from a family of creatives, you know. I come from a working class family. My mum and dad both grew up in working class conditions, and I know that I can't dedicate more of my life to a job that I don't really care about. I'm a creative, and that's that. So whatever I can do to help me towards like getting what I want from life, I'll bloody do it.
That's exactly where I'm at too.
Yeah.
Do you feel like growing up in Devon has something to do with that? Because like you went to Kevix in Totnes.
Yeah, I did. Yeah.
I was in Ivy Bridge, so we were actually at school, 15 miles away from each other or so.
Yeah, I know. That's funny, isn't it?
It's not like growing up in Beverly Hills, is it? Like we weren't surrounded by opulence.
Yeah.
You think that's had some effect on the beliefs you have around money?
Potentially. The thing is, I was born in London, and I lived in London till I was 8. And the funny thing about London, and I guess most cities, is that like you can have extreme wealth, and then opposite side of the road have people living in council flats, and it's like
power, like right next to Chelsea, isn't it?
Exactly. And it's just like the entire city is just, you're just faced with that the whole time. But I was fortunate enough to live in really nice areas, really posh areas actually. But I was not on the side of the road that had the extreme wealth.
Yeah.
So like, there's always been this just like interesting like division, I guess. But I noticed something about myself recently, because my internet wasn't working, so I couldn't work. And so I started reading a book, How to Become a Money Magnet, instead. And so it just got me thinking, like, what is my attitude when I spend money? Like, what is the difference between the way that I think about money and the way that a wealthy person thinks about money? And I noticed what I have an issue with is like, I'll need to invest some money into myself for something, whether it's a photo shoot or like lighting or whatever. And like, I'm like, oh, don't spend that money, don't spend that money, don't spend that money. And then I spend like about a week convincing myself to spend that money. And then by the time I've actually agreed to spend the money, my attitude is just like, get the card out. Oh, fuck it. And I kind of thought, like, what effect is that having on my relationship with money, you know, to like be so scared to spend it that you like literally are thinking about it all the time for about a week, and then to finally spend it and just be like, oh, fuck it. Like, that's not having any respect for money at all. And I think that's probably going to be something that I'm going to be working on, is like my relationship with earning, spending, saving, because you have to respect it. And I don't think I've had much respect for money, really. And I can't remember what your question was. Apologies.
Yeah. Do you think growing up in Devon anything to do with that? But I know what you mean about having that being on the other side of the road kind of thing. So it's possible. You kind of feel like for other people.
Yeah.
And getting your head around the fact that like they're no fucking different to us.
Yeah.
They're probably stuck with something longer, because in the past 5 years, like going from playing in bands and working in call centers, to learning about business and doing mindset work and coaching and all this kind of stuff. What I've learned is like the most successful people in the world figure out what they're good at.
Yeah.
Stick with it. And that is it. And like a lot of these people going, oh, every millionaire's got 7 streams of income. They didn't get to where they are trying to set up 7 streams of income. They got to where they are focusing on one thing, and then that's the secret to success. Like consistency and putting the work in. So when you get that, it's like, actually, why can't I do this? I can.
Yeah, and I think it's just like constantly doing exercises that expand like your ideas. Because one of the exercises in this book was like, how much is your dream amount of money to have in the bank account? So I'm just like, £1 million, because that's enough to buy a really nice house in a city. And then the exercise goes, and now times that by 10.
Yeah.
Imagine asking the universe or whatever for 10 million pounds. I was like, what? No way. And it was like, write down how you feel about timesing that amount by 10. And I was like, I feel very uncomfortable. Don't feel like that's an amount that I can ever have. I don't feel like I should ever have that. What would I do with it? So it's just interesting because even just doing that one exercise, like it just kind of made me think there's so much limiting stuff going on. Like, because like realistically, if I had £1 million, I mean, it would obviously be amazing, but I would buy a house and then what's left over? Do you know what I mean? It's not very much, really.
Well, you say $1 million's enough to buy a nice house or whatever.
Yeah.
Like,
no, exactly. Not in London.
Get you very far in London.
Yeah.
And like Grant Cardone, have you come across him at all?
No.
He talks about getting your money right a lot. I might send you some stuff after this.
Yeah.
And he says about like, if you're an American and you get taken to court, you need a minimum of $1 million to be able to like survive that without going into copious amounts of debt. Like, luckily we don't live in quite the same there's a claim kind of culture.
Yeah.
States, but like you do need, like his book is called the 10x rule.
Yeah.
10x what your goal is to like to create, and 10x the amount of effort that is you think you'll need to get there as well.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like I have seen that time and time again in the past 5 years or so, where like you said, like you thought it was going to be easy and you were naive.
Yeah.
And you're like, this ain't easy.
Yeah.
10 times harder.
And
you go into it expecting to need that sort of effort. Like at least you have your expectations set right before getting disappointed or put off. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
What are your plans for expansion? Like you said, there'd be some stuff in New York, possibly.
Mm-hmm.
Have you got plans to try and get out there into the States? Because I think Amy Winehouse had a very big following over there as well.
Yeah.
More in her footsteps.
Yeah.
Musically,
I think...
in terms of drugs.
Yeah. Well, I think that's another funny thing. It's like since I brought my album out, I've really been focusing a lot of my attention on London, you know, performing in London, making connections in London, just being in London as much as possible. But really, it's like, well, times that by 10. Well, if I times that by 10, then that's me in New York. And the producer that I'm working with, he loves it there because he's well into hip hop. And that's obviously the birthplace of hip hop. So I think that would be the thing. And I think Americans will like me as well. I don't know why I think that, but I think they will. So it's certainly something that I need to think about. Yeah. Because I've never been outside of Europe, not yet. It's just the idea of like actually outside Europe in the States, like so famous, grow up hearing about the States and what goes on there. And, you know, so I do need to think about that, to be honest.
Yeah. What are you doing in terms of YouTube? Because in terms of building an audience, growing a following, monetizing that, Instagram's great, but it's all short form content. And I love short form content. It's the majority of what we produce.
Yeah.
YouTube has that longevity. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Have you thought about doing stuff that introduces your personality? So there's more talking involved.
Yeah.
Talking through like why you wrote a song, like the meaning behind it. Anything like that at all?
I have thought about it and was kind of like, I was thinking that I probably shouldn't do it for now because I don't have like a good camera and I've got a really shit laptop, which I do need to upgrade. So I don't have like any editing software. Like I just was a little bit overwhelmed because I was listening to someone who does have a YouTube channel and was giving advice on it. And she was like, there's so many people on the platform now. Like if you are going to get somewhere on it, putting out the best quality content that you can is going to be the only way that you can really succeed on there. So that's why I was like, all right, well, what can I do in order to give people like the backstage access is what I've called it on Patreon. So I was like, fuck it, put it on a Patreon. People might subscribe if they're interested. And then it's not so like out there for the world to see and maybe slightly less competitive. But I think what I've learned from the Patreon experience so far is that if I'd had a YouTube following prior, would have led to having patrons. I think that's what they call them. So yeah, I don't know. I'm just like, it's that thing again where it's like, you could, like, I've got the money, I could buy a new laptop, I could buy a new camera, but I'm so scared to spend that much money. So I don't know. I don't know whether it's a good idea or not.
I reckon it could work really well.
Really?
Yeah.
You know what? You're probably right. You're probably right.
And the other thing you have to understand is like, you can get all of that equipment for far less than what you'd think.
Right.
If you were buying new, there's ways of getting it cheaper new, but Facebook Marketplace is like,
yeah, true.
Friends.
Yeah.
I've got so much equipment and I've paid less than half what I should have.
Yeah.
So
yeah, you're right. Yeah. Yeah. See, even now you're just helping me expand the vision.
Well, absolutely.
Yeah.
Stop record. We can discuss how I can help you more if you like.
Yeah.
But that brings me to a very nice place to close this and to wrap up.
Yeah.
Before we do, can you let people watching and listening at home know the best places to find you and where they can get more of the Scarlett Fagan experience?
Yeah. So very active on Instagram, just under Scarlett Fagan. I do have a YouTube channel. It's got a music video on there and a few live performances. They don't really have many views.
A lot more coming soon.
Yeah, sure. Why not? As I said, I'm on Patreon now. So if you want backstage access and also access to a full performance of my headline show, that's also on there behind a paywall because your girl has to pay bills. Where else am I? Facebook, I'm pretty active on there. Bandcamp and TikTok. And I think that's it.
And you can be found on any of those places by just searching Scarlett Fagan. Is that right?
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I'm pretty easy to find.
Perfect. I'll put links to all of those underneath the video on YouTube and in the show notes on the podcast platforms. Scarlett, thank you so much for joining me. This has been absolutely amazing.
Yeah, it's been great to catch up.
For a while. And for you watching and listening at home, keep being rad.